Hey everyone, we're going to get started
Welcome,
in just a
everybody.
few minutes. We're just going to give it 2 minutes here to let a few more people join us. You are welcome to turn
Excuse
on
me?
your. Oh, yes.
I got. It said is there a Q&A function? Cause I'm not getting. It said I got a notification saying I need to change things in order to get that.
There is a Q&A function, but there's also the chat where you were chatting with us before, so you can put your questions there as well.
Good, because I updated this thing and I don't want to have to go through the hassle of
Nope. Yeah,
exiting out.
you won't have to. Yeah, you can just chat right in the chat where we were just chatting before.
Thank you. Because I got a lot.
And that's a good point for me to just let everyone else know. It's easiest if you just put your questions right in the chat and we can answer them as we go along, just so Justin can get through as much of the presentation as possible, because there's a lot to know about Storyteller, and we want to make sure that everyone gets their questions answered. So go ahead and just either put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A, and I'll either answer you right there, or we'll have Justin address the question when he gets a second. We'll give it just 1 more minute here.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and get started here. Well, hello everybody. I'm Justin Kudo. I'm the founder and CEO of SoCreate, and very excited to show you what we just recently launched with Storyteller and kind of get you guys up to date on how to take advantage of Storyteller and everything that SoCreate offers. We will start, I'll kind of give you an overview of everything SoCreate quickly. And the focus of today's webinar is going to be on Storyteller. So I will briefly cover our writing tool as a part of this presentation, but the presentation is focused on the actual Storyteller. So the output, the place that you can post and market yourself and market your stories. So that's going to be the focus of today. SoCreate in general is made up of 3 different pillars. So the way that we think about SoCreate is it's a platform. So it's more than just a writing program, like something like Final Draft or Microsoft Word. It's more than that. It's a platform where your story kind of lives in the platform, and there's all kinds of different pieces to it that you can take advantage of to help you move your story along, get feedback, and then also publish it. So the 3 pillars of SoCreate is the writing software, which we call SoCreate Writer, and that's where you can actually write your stories. Even if you don't write your story in SoCreate, and let's say that you've been writing for a long time in something else like Final Draft, and you're just most comfortable with that, and you want to continue to do that, well, you can still take your story from that and upload it into SoCreate, and then use our writing tool to add imagery or make adjustments to your story prior to publishing. And we'll kind of cover that workflow today as we go through it. And you feel free to please ask Courtney questions along the way by posting them in the chat or the QA. I'm happy to answer questions as we go along, just to make sure that if I'm in the middle of something and something really stands out and you feel like, okay, I need to ask this now before I forget or whatever, just go ahead and ask it, and then we can address it, because Courtney will relay that to me, and we'll give everybody the answer, because if you have that question, other people may as well.
One One question
Sure.
really quickly, Justin, that already came up. When you're talking about importing scripts from other software, currently we only support importing from Final Draft, not from Celtics or any of the other platforms. However, many of those platforms, you can also export your script in Final Draft format. So as long as you have a Final Draft .ftx file, you can import it into SoCreate. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and then we'll kind of walk through everything.
While you're doing that, Justin, I just wanted to share a quote that I read today from a producer named Evan Shapiro, and he's a producer on Portlandia and some other really successful popular shows. And he recently delivered a keynote just kind of about the state of Hollywood. And I thought it just rung so true for our storyteller launch today, and it was so timely. But he said, if you spend a day in Hollywood, you'll see everyone is running around with their hair on fire. We're no longer the model to follow. Build your own model in your own market. And what he's really referring to is just that, you know, Hollywood is not the same as it used to be. And you really do have to build up an audience around your work and your stories and kind of market them yourselves to get those data points for Hollywood really to even pay attention. And you can really build up your career and take control of your career on your own now with all the tools that are available, and especially with SoCreate. And so that's why it's so timely, and we're so excited to show you Storyteller today.
Yes, and that's exactly the reason why we built SoCreate. I felt like, there's not enough power in the hands of the writer, and we wanted to take some of that power away from the gatekeepers and put that into the hands of the writer. And that's the whole strategy behind everything that we do at SoCreate. We're 100% creator, writer focused, and everything that we build is to empower writers. So with that being said, we'll kind of jump in and I'll walk you through the platform, how to get your story into SoCreate if you're currently working in something outside of our software. So like you've already have a script, you've already written a script, and you just want to get it into SoCreate and be able to publish it, build out your profile and that sort of thing. That's kind of where we're going to start from today. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you all can see it. And what you're looking at is this is the SoCreate dashboard. So if you're new to SoCreate, once you have an account and you sign in, your dashboard will look something like this. So you can see here, I don't have anything. I haven't written anything. There's no stories in my dashboard yet. Right up here at the top, this is where you can create stories. So if you want to write a movie, a TV show, or a short, you can do that by clicking on any of these buttons. It will take you into our writing software and you can start writing a story. This other button is the one that we're going to be focused on today, is just importing a story from other software. We currently, like Courtney mentioned earlier, we only support importing from Final Draft. But if you use some software that's not Final Draft, a lot of software saves to Final Draft, or there's online programs where you can take something from a different software and then get it to move that into a Final Draft file. So we currently support importing from Final Draft. You'll notice here that I have this collaborating on tab. When you work on a story within SoCreate, you can invite other people to it. We have real-time collaboration, kind of like Google Docs, where two people can work on a story at the same time. And then we also have the ability to provide feedback. One of our new features that we just released is what we call community feedback. And you can see here in this column, this new feature, feedback request. So this is a feedback request that one of our members has written a story and is asking the community for feedback. So within your own dashboard within SoCreate, you'll be able to see all the other SoCreate community members that have requested feedback, and you can participate in giving them feedback on their stories. You can do the same. So when you have a story and if you want feedback from our community, you can post it here. When you generate a feedback request, you can also get a link to it and post it other places, like in Facebook communities, on Reddit, or wherever else you would like to get feedback from. And they can simply click that link and come and provide you with feedback. Right here is some how-to videos on how to use our writing software. If you click this link below here, it'll take you to a whole list of about 100 videos that will show you every feature in our writing software. They're only about a minute long each, so it's pretty quick to get through them, and you can learn very quickly by checking out these videos. Up here at the top, we have this support, and you can click on this to chat with us. We're available here to help you along the way, from anything from just technical difficulties with our software, if you run into any problems, if you notice any bugs, or if you just need help on just want input, we're here to help you. So that's right here available in this support, and this is in throughout the platform. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on import story, and I'm going to then say I'm going to import a movie. And then what's happening right now is it's opening up my file picker on my computer, and I'm just going to go and find a final draft file that I have on my computer, and I'm just going to open that. And then what's going to happen is it's going to take a few minutes to go through and kind of analyze my script, my final draft script. It's going to look at all the different pieces of it, and then it's going to provide me with this pop-up choice where I can choose the kind of imagery that I want to use within my story. So we have a couple of options within SoCreate. We have our doodle collection of images. We have our realistic images. I'm going to just choose realistic because I like to use the realistic images with my story. And then I'm just going to click import now. And so what this is going to do is it's going to go through my story. It's going to assign character images to all of my characters and then import it. And you'll notice here that it showed up right here within my dashboard now. And so I'm just going to click on this to go into the story. And what's going to happen is when I open this story, it's going to take me into what we call SoCreate Writer, which is our writing software. So now it's going to take a second and optimize this for my screen. And you'll see here that, that I have my story imported now. And you'll notice that the writing environment is much different than anything that you probably have ever seen before if you're not familiar with SoCreate, in the sense that it's very immersive. As you build your story, you're kind of building the world of your story as you write. So you can add imagery for your locations, you can add character images, you can add all sorts of different types of images as you kind of build out your story. And all of this imagery will be used as a part of the publishing when you publish into SoCreate Storyteller. When we import your script, like if you import it from a different piece of software, we may not pick exactly the right images that you had in mind for your characters, but you can easily go in and change those images. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So when I hover over any of these characters, you'll see I get this little eye right here. And if I click on that, it's going to open up this little menu. It's going to tell me about this character, Michael. I can click on menu and click edit. And now I can go in and see all the properties of this character. And if there's anything that's not right here, I can update it. I can also click this change image. And then I can select different imagery from within our platform. We provide these different image collections, and you can go through and find other images for this character that are better suited, or you can upload your own imagery. So you can click this upload button and select a character image from your hard drive. The one thing that I will point out is if you do use external imagery as a part of your story, and you're planning on publishing it in a SoCreate Storyteller, you are going to want to make sure that you have copyright, the ability to use those images from a copyright standpoint. So for example, it's probably not okay for you to go take an image of Brad Pitt and use it in your story because he's not going to be happy with that. And from a company's standpoint, from SoCreate's perspective, we want to uphold copyright protection for all of the people out there. So if somebody reports that your story is infringing on their rights, we will take it down. And we are very strict about this. If you publish copyright protected material, meaning somebody else's story, or you plagiarize something, or you use imagery that you're not supposed to use, we will not allow you to publish going forward. So so we do that just because we want to protect all artists and writers and make sure that that everything that is being used in Storyteller is okay to use. So so that's how you go and you can update every single one of your characters with different imagery. And I also will point out is all of the imagery that you can use within SoCreate, all of our collections of images are all, you can use all those. You have the rights to use all of those images within your stories. The next thing that you might want to do is you might want to upload action images. So for every piece of action within this story, I can add an image. So I can click on this right here, and I can go upload image, and then I can select an image from my computer, which I'm going to do right now. And I'm just going to select this this image here on my computer, and you'll see that I've selected this image of a bathtub. Now I can zoom in, I can kind of position this thing where I want it to be within this window here, click save. And then when I say use image, you'll see that that image is used right there on that action. And then if I go back to it, you'll see that that image is what ends up being, used in the story. So I can go through each one of these action items and I can upload my own imagery. And this could be imagery that you take yourself, or it could be imagery that you use an AI generator to generate that match your story. In the future, we are working on the ability for us to auto-generate imagery for your entire story. If you want to use that option, it's always going to be optional. You'll always be able to use your own imagery. So if you're an illustrator or you know an illustrator and you want to do illustrations, you can do that. You can choose that for your characters, for your action, also for your locations. So there's lots of options here for imagery. You can also upload your own image for your title card here. So if I go up here and I click on change image, here it's going to give me some selection options. I'm going to choose upload, and then I'm going to go back to my computer here, and I'm going to get the image that I want to use for that title card. And then I'm just going to select this photo here. And then I'm going to use that. And now you can see that shows up as my title card image. And when I publish this into SoCreate Storyteller, this right here will be what people see as kind of the, like kind of the movie poster or that kind of represents your work within the platform. So I covered a lot really quickly, and I want to pause for a moment and see if anybody has any questions that I could answer about any of the things that I've shown so far.
I think I've addressed most of the questions in the chat. Mary had asked if this could be used as a pitch deck, which I told her most definitely, especially once you see how this looks when we publish it to Storyteller. It's kind of the whole point of this is that you get to show your story the way you imagined it in your head, with all of the moods and all of the photos and everything that you kind of imagine your story to be and what your characters look like, etc. So you could definitely use it for that purpose. Mary also asked, will I be able to send my students to see the demonstration and training video without them having to join? Yeah, we can send you a follow-up email with a copy of this webinar and also just some of our other training resources. So no problem there. And then I think we have another question coming in right now. Just one moment. What are the different features like between movie, TV show, or short?
Okay, so the differences between like a short and a movie, there's not really a lot of differences. The difference between a movie and a TV show is some differences in the way that your kind of structure works. Within SoCreate, we kind of formalize structure. So you can see here for this movie that I imported, we can do scenes, sequences, acts, and films. I can go and change that at any time. Let's say I started writing a movie and I decided, you know what, this is going to be better as a TV show. I can just click on this menu, go to settings, and then I can change the type right here. So if I change it to TV show like this, and then you'll notice when I go in here to story structure, it changes a little bit. Now we have episodes and seasons. Also, if I go in here and I add an act to my story, another thing that's different between the TV shows and movies is acts can have cold opens, teasers, that sort of thing. So there's some subtle differences between each of these things, and you can change back and forth between those templates. Over time, we'll add more templates where we plan to hopefully by the end of the year add short stories and novels and other types of writing as well. So, so good question.
that would be a good time to also just mention that if you're interested in learning more about Writer and all of the different features inside of Writer, so you can really become proficient and fast at writing in this platform, we're having another webinar next Wednesday, specifically tailored to Writer and how to bring your stories to life in Writer. So I will get that posted on our social channels, but it's next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, and if you're interested in SoCreate, I highly recommend attending that, because we'll go into like how you can write just as fast in SoCreate Writer as you can in a word processor without using your mouse, just using your keyboard. We'll really dive in and get into all of the nitty-gritty on how to really leverage this tool to create really powerful stories. So now the other thing that I'll mention is when it comes to imagery, a lot of people write what they know, and they write about like areas that they live and that sort of thing. So as you're writing your story, let's say that you're writing a scene that takes place at a coffee shop near your house. Every time that you think of this scene, you always think of that coffee shop. Well, the next time you're in that coffee shop, you can just take some photos and then use those photos inside of your story for your location, maybe even for some of your action. And then when you see your story as you're writing it, it'll really immerse you in that environment. And then when you go to publish, you can use that imagery as well.
So Justin, we do have several more questions just about the Storyteller output. So Andrew wanted to know, when he's viewing the screenplay in Storyteller, why are his scene numbers disappearing?
Okay, so the way that Storyteller is designed is designed to kind of strip away some of the mechanics of screenwriting and present your story in a more readable format, right? So it's more enjoyable for people to read without all of these things in the way. Now, if you want to, let's say that you have somebody that's interested in purchasing your story, or you have somebody that you want to send it to in a more traditional way, I can show you a couple of ways to do that. One way is when you're in the writing software, you can go up to this menu right here and you can click Export Print. And if you want to be super traditional, you can export to the traditional format like this. You can export to a final draft file. Our software will create a perfect final draft file exactly with the exact, no different than if you had created it in Final Draft. We can also export to PDF. So that would be doing it the traditional way. But an even better way is you can go up here to sharing, and then you can go to request feedback here. And then you can add their first name, last name, email address. This is kind of like a private way for you to share your work with somebody. And when you share your work with them, they'll be able to see it in script view or in story view. And in that view, it keeps in all of the traditional screenwriting things. So
and then when you're adding images, is there an opportunity to add video as well?
Today there isn't, but we do plan to add that in the future. So we will be adding video in the near term, not like months and months away. Hopefully within the end of the year time frame. Any other questions?
Not yet. We have some more coming in, but we can.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the publishing part.
I had one.
Okay.
Can we add your SoCreate meeting calendar to ours? Don't the ones that have the webinar the meeting.
We don't have a way to do that right now, but if you follow us on our social channels and you subscribe to our Substack, we always post anything that's coming up with plenty of advance notice, so you can add anything that you're interested in attending to your calendar that way.
Yeah, so we'll send it out in our weekly newsletter anytime we're going to do anything. So as long as you kind of pay attention to that, you'll be able to get access to it. So one thing that I will point out here in the writing software, this little bar chart right here, if you click on this, it flips this around and it shows you, how many action items have, how many dialogue items, your current page count, your story runtime. So you can get all those stats right there. So if you've been doing screenwriting for a long time and you're wanting to know what your page count is as you work, you can see that right here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get to what we've been talking about, is this storyteller concept. So in order to, when you're ready to publish the storyteller, there's a couple of things that you're going to want to do. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to make sure that you build out your online profile. So we have a profile kind of like an IMDb profile or a LinkedIn profile where you can build out your writer profile. And to do that, you just simply click up here in the corner on your login avatar here, and then you go into view account like this. And then you'll notice that inside of here, I have this tab here called personas. So you're going to want to create a persona for yourself. By default, you have your persona that was set up when you created your account. And so you can go into that by just clicking on this menu and click edit persona. And then you can add like your location. We give you the ability to decide what the URL to your dashboards, your profile that you can share out with the world. And so you can see mine is SoCreate.it/Justin, but you can put this in. And so I'd encourage you guys that are jumping on this early to go and put in the name that you want right now. I think we probably defaulted it to your first and last name, but you can change that to whatever you want. And then that's the URL or the address you'll give to people when you want to say, hey, go check out my stories, because all of the stories that you publish will show up under your profile. So you're going to want to do that. Then you can add experience here. So for example, you can put in the title, projects or organizations you work for. Like, for example, if you have done writing for other people, if you've written for anything else, or even not writing, just like what your experience is. Because if you're, writing a story about cars and you're a mechanic, hey, that might be relevant if all of your stories are about cars that you really know about cars, right? So you can put in whatever you feel is going to promote your profile in the way that you would like to right here. And then you can also add a bio as well. So you can fill out your bio and make sure that that you talk about yourself and why you're writing, and it's a place for you to kind of promote yourself and let people know who you are. And so once you have your profile all ready, then you're ready to publish. Now, one of the things that I will point out is that we do have this ability to add multiple personas. So you can actually add up to 10 different personas. And the idea behind that is that some writers like to write under a pen name where they don't ever share their real name, but they're known as this writer's name that they want to go by. That could be one reason why you would want to create a persona. Another reason might be that, hey, you have a brand around writing romantic comedies, and you want to try your hand at action, but you don't want to hurt your brand by putting an action movie out there, action story. You can create a persona for your action stories and then have that profile as well. So you can have multiple profiles online in SoCreate. So I have mine, this one that I set up here, so I'm ready to go now. And now the next thing that I'm going to do is before I publish my story into Storyteller, I might want to first get a preview of it and see what it looks like and make sure it's what I want it to be. So in order to do that, you just go up here to sharing and you click on this, and you'll notice that we have this preview in Storyteller, and we also have publish to Storyteller. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just click on preview, and that's going to pop open a new tab in my browser here, and it's going to load in my story into Storyteller. So here's the story that we were working on here. You can see the characters and all of that. And then as I go through the story, you'll see this action item has that bathtub that I had selected. And as I go through this here, the imagery will update and that sort of thing. So if I added imagery, I can add imagery to every piece of action. And as I go from action to action within the story, it will change those images as I go along here. Up here at the top, you can click on this, and you can copy this link, and then you can share your story, on Twitter or wherever you share things with, you can text it to somebody or whatever, just by copying this link here. That's a way to share your story. And so this is like basically previewing your story. Now, it hasn't been published and it's not available to anybody yet. So I'm going to go ahead and just close this. Let's say that I'm happy with it and I like it. Then I'm going to go back to the writing software, and now I'm actually ready to publish it online. So the way that I do that is I just click on this sharing menu and I just go to publish to Storyteller. And when I do this, it's going to pop open here like this, and it's going to ask me what publishing style do I want to utilize. So we have two different publishing styles right now. We have the complete story publishing style, and we have a serial story publishing style. So the complete story means that you've written a story that has, a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's complete. It's everything that you want it to be, and you're ready to publish it for the world to see and read. And so you would choose this option. Serial stories are something where I want to drag this out over time. I want to publish the first, like maybe scene of my movie, and then every week I'm going to publish another scene, right? So that would be a way to kind of like keep people interested, keep them coming back. In time, we're going to add a bunch of additional features to Storyteller where people can follow you as a writer, where they can follow your stories. So for example, if you publish a story in the future, people will be able to follow it. And every time you publish a new scene, they'll get notified with a link to come back and continue reading the next scene that you publish, right? So that's what serial story publishing is. Does anybody have any questions on anything I covered up to this point?
There are a couple of questions, Justin. One, Roberto said that he's written a story with his son. And so how would you give credit to two story writers?
That's a good question. And the way that you would do that in SoCreate is you would have your son. So there's the way that you can do it today is you would go in your story like this. You would invite your son as a collaborator. So you would add them as a collaborator like this, copy this link, send it to them, and then they will become a collaborator on your story when they click on that link. And then anything that you publish, all of the collaborators will be on that story as people that worked on that together. So that's how you do it today. In the future, we may have other options on that as well. When you go to your story settings here, you can do some other things as well. Let's say that your story was based on a book. In here, you would type based on, you type the name of the book and who it was by. You could leverage these fields as well for adding in your son's name that way as well. The other way that I showed you where you add them as a collaborator, they would need to have a SoCreate professional account. But here you can put this text in and you can see how it comes out. It will just add it to the list of collaborators in the story. But then they won't have a clickable profile if you do it this way. If they are a member of SoCreate, they will have a clickable profile and that sort of thing. So your son could have his own profile within here as well. So for example, let's say that Courtney and I write a story together and then one of us publishes it. Well, both of our profiles will be linked to that story, and that story will show up under both of our profiles as stories that we published. Any other questions?
Yeah, a question about sharing. So if you were to share a link to your profile, is that how you would get people to see your stories, or is there another way? I know you briefly covered sharing an individual story, but
yes, yes. So that's a great question, and I'll kind of cover that as we get into the publishing part, as I do the actual publishing part in just a moment. So let's hold on that one for just a second. If I forget to cover it, then please bring it up again. But I'm going to cover it in the next section. Is there any other questions?
No, we covered them.
Okay, great. So the next thing I'm going to do is now my profile's ready. I'm ready to publish. I'm happy with my story. So I go up here, I click on Publish Storyteller, and then this is a complete story. So I'm going to choose this option. And then down here, I'm just going to click Next Step. And then it's going to say, okay, you need to put in like a description of your story, kind of a synopsis of your story. And this is kind of like where you would describe what your story is about, right? It's like a short paragraph describing what your story is about. And this is really important to do a good job with this, because this is how people are going to decide whether they read your story or not, right? They're going to get your little image cover here like this, and right next to it is going to be a description of like what your story is about. And so I put a little bit of effort into this, make sure it's really good, make sure it covers, what your story is about, to give them enough interest to want to read it. So that's what you're going to want to do here. After you fill this description out, I'm just going to type that in for now, which is not what you want to do, but I'm just going to do this for to make this go quicker. And then I would click next step down here at the bottom. And then this is important right here. It talks about our zero tolerance policy on rating your story and picking the genre and that sort of thing. So one of the things that our goal is first and foremost, SoCreate we always put the writers first. And then second is the audience, right? And the audience is very important to us. We want to build an amazing audience of people that come and consume your stories, and we're going to invest heavily into bringing people into the platform, into seeing your stories. And so in order for us to create a place that's inviting for everyone, we need to ensure that all of our writers are doing their absolute best at picking the right genre and rating their story properly. We go off the motion picture guidelines that you can find through our terms of service. And it is very critical that you pick right. So let's say that you're working on your story and you're like, this is right between PG-13 and R. It's like, it could be PG-13, but it could be R. Go with the R rating, right? Always go with the higher rating, because that will ensure that younger people and somebody that doesn't want to see something that's R-rated or read something that's R-rated will not have to get that, because if you're on the border. So always be on the safe side, and you don't want to get into a situation where we can't allow you to publish anymore because you rated your story wrong. So please take your time and make sure that you really put a lot of care into this. And if you're not familiar with the motion picture guidelines, please go read those and make sure that you're following them to a T when you rate your stories. So I'm going to pick a genre. This story is fantasy. It's G-rated, and then I'm going to agree to our terms of service here, and then I'm just going to click publish. Now my story has successfully been published into Storyteller. I can simply copy this link, and that's a link to my story that I can share with anybody, and that'll take them directly into the story, right? But I want to go to my dashboard, my profile. So I'm going to click on this, and this is an easy way for me to get to my persona. I can just click on this right here. And it's going to take me into my profile here. And so this is my profile, and you can see that I have my one story that I just published. I have, one thing of experience here. I'm the CEO of SoCreate and my former company that I had. And then here's a little bit of a bio on me. And so this is here. Since I'm looking at my own profile, it tells me that it's public and available online. I could switch it to private if I wanted to. If I did that, no one would be able to get to it. So I don't want to do that, because I want people to get to my stories. If somebody else comes here, they don't see this bar here when you go to somebody else's profile. Now, you can just share this page here. So you can see it's at SoCreate, and I could get rid of this EN here. This is because I'm on the English site. And if I just type in SoCreate.it/Justin, whatever the name that you used in your persona like this, and click it, it will take me to that profile. We have our site available in 16 languages. So if I do it in Spanish, it'll take me to the Spanish one. Of course, it's not going to translate the stuff that I wrote in, but the whole site would be in Spanish in that scenario. But you don't have to worry about that. All you have to worry about is the name that you selected, SoCreate.it/ the name that you selected. And it'll always get them to your profile. Once they're in your profile, then they could click on this, and this is going to give them, this is that description that I was talking about. So you can see mine just says this is a description. This is my story's description right here. And this would be where they would read about your story, that sort of thing. They can see how it's rated here. It's fantasy, it's rated G, that sort of thing, how long it's going to take them to read it. There's no ratings on my story yet in terms of how much people liked it. And then they just click read story, and then it's going to take them into the story, and then they can start reading your story. Now, coming in the future, inside of stories, we're going to add discussions where people can ask you questions. We're going to add the ability to follow you as a writer. We're going to have the ability to follow your stories. And when people go to your profile by clicking on your name like that in the future, there's going to be a little option here that we'll be adding that will enable studios to contact you directly. So we're going to be creating this database of the studios that we're working with, where they can get listed with us as a somebody that buys content. And then if they find a story that they love of yours, they'll be able to click and contact you directly. We're not involved in the negotiations of that. It's all between you, the writer, and the purchaser of the content. We completely stay out of that. The only thing we do is act as the conduit to connect you together. Again, when you publish in SoCreate, you retain 100% of the rights to your story. SoCreate gets no rights to your story. The only thing that we get the right to do is host your story on our website and allow people to come and read your story. So other than that, you own all rights for everything in your story, and will always retain those rights. And so you don't have to worry about that. And if somebody wants to buy it, they can contact you directly and do that.
Hey, Justin, let me jump in really fast. We have a question from Alan. Alan, I'm going to unmute you, and you can go ahead and actually, you might have to unmute yourself, but you can go ahead and ask your.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question. I left the question on the Q&A, but I can't leave any questions on the chat. But here we go. Besides just a format script or a main script, can I upload like a series Bible, like a pitch Bible, beside to upload? It might have characters and a synopsis and a log line in the comps. I could do all that simple.
So not in the way that you're used to doing it, I would say. SoCreate kind of builds out a lot of these things, and we are going to be adding more and more features where you can further develop your character. I was actually just going over prototypes today of that. So you'll be able to build out more things like a Bible within SoCreate itself, probably in a different way than you're used to, but we think a really cool and powerful way. So today the answer is no. But as we go forward, things will evolve quite dramatically, where you're going to be able to really put in a lot more information into SoCreate.
And then go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
No. Go ahead. No, you finish.
So I was just saying, so I can't do a series Bible on this website and put in my name and my bio and the synopsis and all that of this concept. I did scripts based on the series Bible, but I thought it would go first in all the scripts that goes with it.
So no, not today. In the future, we are going to allow you to showcase other stories that are not published in SoCreate here. So meaning that the whole story is not published, you'll be able to create this little kind of card here and synopsis here like this. And but it won't have this read story button on it, but it will be a way for you to kind of showcase within your profile other stories that you've worked on. Maybe they've already been made into movies, maybe they haven't, that sort of thing. And we're also going to add the ability for you to list the stories that you have in development here as well, where they're not available to read yet in the platform, but that you can make people aware that you're working on story about whatever, and so maybe you can sell that story even prior to completing it. So
another thing you could do that just occurred to me, Alan, is you could say, like, if you wanted to publish, your series to your profile, you could publish those in Storyteller, and then in that description box, just say something like, series Bible available upon request or something, because it sounds like it's something you're wanting to include at the beginning of, all of your scripts. Is that right?
Yeah. Where would I put that at?
So there's a place to add basically your log line or the description of your story when you go to publish it. So it's built into the publishing process, so you can't really miss it. But you would basically write your log line, and then you could write right underneath that series Bible available upon request if you wanted to do it that way.
And that would all show up right here.
right there. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Don't won't waste any time about the whole concept because they want to know the concept, not just the series, because they're going to get confused on the series based
Right.
on the concept itself.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And then we do have another question from Roberto. Once a story is published, can it be updated, or is the idea that it's the final publishing?
No, absolutely, it can be updated. So the way that that will work is you will make changes to your story, and as you make changes to your story, you'll get an option to republish. And so basically, because what we do when you publish your story, we take the current version of it and we publish that current version. After it's published, you can go in and continue to work on it, continue to make changes to it. Those changes don't show up in the published version unless you click to republish the story. Any other questions?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So let's see here. Let's go back to the dashboard here. So now let me just talk about another concept that you can do. I'm just going to go back and go to our dashboard, and then another thing. If you're a writer that's maybe never written a screenplay before, but maybe you've done other types of writing, you could today, even though we don't support templates like novels and short stories, which those are coming, but today we don't have that. But if you're really eager to put a story in today that is one of those other types of stories, well, one of the ways that you could do that is you can just pick any one of these, really. I would just pick the movie probably, and then just create the story like this. And then when you go into the story here, and even though this says scene one and that sort of thing, since we don't actually publish that into the storyteller thing, what you could do is just add a bunch of action. So for every paragraph of your story, you just add action, and then you can add imagery to each of those action items. You might want to add a location image just to be your starting image. And from doing that, you essentially can create something that will be very much like a novel when it gets published in the storyteller. So you'll be able to add the images here, add your story, each piece of your story, and then you can publish it in that way. But we're targeting before the end of the year to also have novel and short story templates out. So you could just wait for that as well. But if you're really eager to do that now, you could do this now. I think I've covered everything. If anybody has any other questions, or Courtney, did I miss anything that you can think about?
I think you covered it. We do have a couple more questions.
Sure.
So are we planning to eventually make a downloadable app or downloadable software of SoCreate? I think the question that he's probably getting at there is an offline version.
Okay, so SoCreate does work offline right now, but not in the way that you would want it to, in the sense that if you're on a bad internet connection that's going in and out, it will work fine. You can use SoCreate and it will work fine, even when you get disconnected for short periods of time. If you start to be connected for a long period of time, we don't recommend continuing to write in that way, primarily because if your browser crashed, or you shut your browser, or you refreshed your browser, you would lose your content that you've been writing since the last point that it's saved. So in the future, we will support offline 100%. We built the platform with offline built into it. We just haven't exposed everything because there's a few challenges in order for us to do that. And we really, our roadmap right now is we're really focused on launching Storyteller, getting Storyteller going, and then we'll come back to the writing environment and continuously improve that as well.
And then in the future, Justin, will we be adding anything more to enhance the Storyteller experience?
100%. So this is like the way to think about Storyteller experience today is it's a read experience and it's our day one experience. SoCreate is going to radically evolve, and it's going to get so much more immersive, so much more compelling over time. The things that we're working on right now and we are targeting launching by the end of the year is basically you'll go through your story, you'll go to publish it, and you'll have a bunch of options. Do I want to do you want us to generate imagery for your entire story, right? Then what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to look at your story, analyze your story, And then with AI, generate imagery for every part of your story to make all of this imagery really, really high quality and really, really be tailored to your story. We're also going to give you the option to generate audio, right? So what does that mean? It means that every character would speak in their own voice. You'll be able to go into the software, you'll be able to select which voice you want for each character. And then when we publish your story, if you choose that option, we will generate audio for every part of your story. We'll generate imagery for your story, and then you get this really immersive experience where you can still read it, but there'll be a play button, and you can play it. It'll go full screen imagery. We plan to, in the future, have apps for your Fire TV, your Apple TV, that kind of thing, where people can consume your stories at home, where they can sit back and they can just listen to them like an audiobook, or they can listen to them and watch the visuals. And so we'll do that. After we get that launched, and that again we're targeting the end of the year for this, so only a couple of months. And after we do that, we're going to add the ability to add music and sound effects. And so this thing will just get richer and richer and richer over time. Our long-term kind of North Star is to be able to take your story and generate cinematic video from it. I think we're a few years out from that, but all of the stuff around audio and imagery, that stuff is coming very, very soon. So imagine being able to write your story and then being able to create something with a click of a button that's better than any audiobook that you can buy from Audible today. So that's coming very, very soon, and that's very exciting. If you have great stories, or you are planning on writing some great stories, right now is the time, because like I said, a couple of months is very, very soon, and we will have that ability.
And then Roberto had a good question just about the subscription tiers. So he said, if you only write a few stories in a year and then stop writing and go back to the free tier after writing as a professional plan member, what happens to the stories? Do they get pulled, or do they stay up past a pro subscription expiring?
That's a great question. So in order to keep your stories published online, you do have to continue to pay for a pro subscription. Now, the reason behind that is that we have costs to host and to run these stories in our cloud, and we need to be able to survive as a company to be able to provide that. Now, going down the road, as we get further down the road, so as SoCreate becomes more popular and becomes more successful with more and more stories and really high quality stories, where lots of people are coming and thousands and thousands of people consuming these stories and really enjoying them, and we get to a level of quality and a level of traffic and everything where people are really where they're really valuing this content, then what we plan to do is start charging like a $5 a month fee to access these stories, and then we're going to take and share that revenue with the creators. So the idea is, like, our goal is that by publishing into SoCreate, your writing subscription essentially becomes free because you're earning enough to pay for that in time. So that's where we're trying to go, and we hope that we get there, and we hope that people make much, much more money than just covering their writing subscription from the platform.
Yeah. And then that kind of leads actually to another question. How close is your model to Vella on Kindle, which is it's a serialized, publishing system that they have?
So I'm not super familiar with that. Just to be totally transparent about that, I'm not super familiar with it, so I really can't answer that question. I mean, if it's like a serial publishing story, there's like Wattpad also has something like that. We're kind of at SoCreate, we're kind of creating our own thing. We don't spend a lot of time evaluating other platforms or products because we have a really strong vision of what we're trying to create. And the way that SoCreate evolves is by us getting feedback from people like you. So we are constantly encouraging our members to give us feedback, to tell us where things are getting in their way, to tell us the things that they want to see. We literally often can implement things that people want in a very quick amount of time. If we find that, you know, we're getting these requests over and over, and there's lots of people that are wanting these same features, then we will put those features in. I mean, we listen to our members and want to provide the best platform for you. So that's kind of what drives us, not what other people are doing. What drives us is our vision for where we see the future going, and also steering that vision based on the feedback that we get from the people that love and use SoCreate.
And I would just add 2 things to that. The one thing I think that really sets us apart from something like Bella is that we have this immersive imagery and this immersive reading experience that Kindle, you know, can't necessarily provide to your readers, to your audience. But I would say that if there's something specific about Bella that you really love, please, like Justin just said, reach out to us, chat with us, email us at any time and say, hey, you know, this element for me is really missing. And like he said, we can pretty quickly implement new features or things that make sense for us to add if we're getting that kind of feedback. So we only know if you tell us. So please tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I'll point out is that SoCreate right now, so you know, you may be wondering, well, how are people going to get to my stuff? And one of the ways is you can promote your profile, and we encourage everybody to do that. Share your profile on social media, everywhere online, Reddit, wherever you go and wherever you find content, share your stuff there. The more that you share your stuff, the more direct, you know, visibility that people are going to get to your platform. Put links everywhere, and that will drive people to your profile. Now, in addition to that, we are going to have a homepage that will be launching soon, and it will be curated in the sense that we're going to be putting the highest quality content there because we want to increase, you know, the number of people that are coming back and reading this. But no matter what, we're always going to have this section of everything that's recently published. So you'll get lots of visibility from our homepage from recently publishing, and also every page on our website is going to have kind of like a little strip of stories that go across the top. And today we get on average 40 to 70,000 unique visitors a month to our website already, without even having Storyteller launched. So once Storyteller launches, our expectation is that our traffic's going to go up. We're also going to be spending money on marketing it and getting it out there to promote people and their stories. The other thing that we will do at SoCreate for you is if you have a really great story and you we will help you get it out there, right? Like, we want to promote it through our newsletter, through our social. So you know, we do have high bar for quality because, you know, that ensures that our platform flourishes, that it provides more opportunities for all the creators on the platform. So we do have a high standard and a high bar for quality, but we super encourage you to share your stuff with us. And if it meets that bar, we will absolutely promote you. Our strategy for marketing and getting the word out for SoCreate is not to promote ourselves, it's to promote all of the members of SoCreate. So we want to promote you and help you succeed. And by you succeeding, we succeed.
We do have a question from Herbert. So Herbert, you can unmute yourself to ask your question if you want.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, thanks a lot. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just want to say thank you, Courtney, for the feedbacks. That's really lovely. That's one of the best things I get from SoCreate is the feedbacks I get. So thanks a lot. You guys are doing an awesome job. So I have my first question is I want to ask for the writers, for the creators, what kind of protections do you guys have towards us having our stories published on the platform in case of theft or things like that? And that's the first question. My second question is, when we publish your stories, when people come on the platform to read stories, are these people going to be charged or something for reading the stories they have on the platform? Is that a revenue stream that SoCreate is thinking about? So those are my questions. Thank you very much. And again, thanks.
Thank you. Great questions. And in terms of like what Herbert mentioned was our feedback, that's this right here. You actually see his story is right in here. And in addition to getting feedback from our community, our staff will actually provide you feedback as well. So we have people that will look at your stories and give you feedback. Just in case there's nobody from the community that provides it, we are there to provide it. So in terms of answering your questions, on the second question was the monetization part. We are planning on in the future, when we get to a certain level, right now, all the stories are available for free, and we're going to keep it that way for some period of time. That way we can bring awareness to the platform. That way people can get used to coming and consuming these stories. We want to have as much visibility on these stories as possible. But our long-term goal is to charge for access to the content and to pay the people that create these stories for access to their content. So that is our long-term goal, and that is where we're going. In terms of timing and when we'll get there, it highly depends on how fast SoCreate takes off, how quickly we get really high quality content, and how fast like the whole kind of ecosystem grows. So I can't really say when that's going to be. We hope soon, but we will keep everybody posted, and we're very transparent about all of these things. So we will keep you aware of what's going on in our newsletter and that sort of thing. What was the first question again?
The first question was just about how do we protect writers and their work?
Okay, great question. So since SoCreate is available in 16 different languages, and we have members in over 20 countries around the world, protection on written material is going to largely be dependent upon where you are in the world and what protections your places kind of provide. Now, one of the things that we recommend is potentially registering your story with the Writers Guild. In the US, you're kind of copyright protected as just by publishing anything online, and it has a date associated with it and that sort of thing. So you have some built-in protection, but if you're worried about your stories getting taken or stolen or something like that, then I would highly request that you look into what's going to be the best way to protect yourself. We don't provide any protection. We allow you to publish your story online, and you choose on whether you do that or not. One thing I can tell you that we've heard from many really successful professional screenwriters is put work out there, because that's how you get known, that's how you get visible. A lot of times when you get a job in the film industry writing scripts for something, they don't often buy your story. They often use your story as a way of saying, oh, this person can really write, and then they hire you to work on something else. That happens a lot. So really what we're doing here is we're giving you the opportunity and a platform to put your stories out in the world, to build an audience around your stories, to build a reputation, and build a brand around you. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by putting your work out there. Now, with that being said, definitely look into all channels to protect yourself in whichever way that you feel that you want to be protected and need to be protected. You can, in the US, register with the Writers Guild. That's one option. You can go to the copyright department and copyright protect yourself. When you publish into SoCreate, we have a timestamp, and when you create your story in SoCreate, we have a timestamp on when everything is created. So we have a body of evidence as to when the story was created. So that would help you if you ever got into any kind of legal situation. But we don't do anything to protect you or to help you with that. That has to be handled on your end.
Yeah. And I would just add to that, besides just the timestamp and having it, published publicly online, if you have 10 or 100 or 1,000 people who have read your story, they also saw it here first. They saw it on SoCreate first. And so you do have some protection in the sense that, you've got a line of witnesses behind you that saw your work on SoCreate first.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yes, and so one of the things that I would think about is like what Courtney was mentioning there. When you put your work out there, if let's say if you send your screenplay as a PDF to somebody, an agent or somebody else, and they forward it around to a bunch of people in Hollywood, and you don't really have any visibility over who saw your script, who read your script, And then suddenly there's a movie that comes out that's exactly like your story. Like you don't really, it's really hard for you to go after them for that, primarily because you had no visibility on who saw it. And it was, those are the only people that saw it, right? If you publish something on our platform, and again, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not offering legal advice, but if you publish something on our platform, you have lots of people seeing that story, lots of visibility on it. A studio or somebody that buys content to make it, it's very unlikely that they're going to steal something like that, because it would just be too risky for them, in the sense that too many people have already seen this and love this story, right? So that's something to think about as well. Any other questions?
I think Jeffrey is typing a question, so
Okay.
we'll let him add that. But just another reminder that if you want a more detailed, in-depth overview of how to use SoCreate Writer, which is the writing part of the platform, not the publishing part that we covered today, we will be having a webinar next week, next Wednesday at noon Pacific time, and we'll be digging into all of the super cool tools that you can use in SoCreate Writer to generate either the storyteller output or export as a traditional Hollywood-ready movie script as well.
Absolutely.
And then Jeffrey just had a suggestion. He said we should invite an entertainment lawyer to a future meeting, which is a great idea, Jeffrey. Thank you. We have actually interviewed and worked with several entertainment attorneys, and we have all of their content available on our YouTube channel. And they're a wealth of knowledge, just telling you, how to protect your work, how to make sure you negotiate the best deals for your work, who you should share your work with, who you shouldn't, etc. So I'd recommend checking out our YouTube channel and going to the list of all the interviews that we've done with the entertainment firm. It was Ramo Law, I believe, is the one that's been super helpful to us, and they're down in Los Angeles.
Yes, and one last thing that I'll mention, if you guys are unaware of our blog on our website, there is a wealth of content here. We put a lot of effort into creating content that covers just about everything there is to know about screenwriting. Also, SoCreate tools, Storyteller. We post jobs in the industry. We do a bunch of different things on our blog, so I would highly recommend that you follow our blog and read it if you want to learn more and basically just have a lot of questions that you may have about SoCreate answered through this as well. If in between these types of things that we do.
And then we have one more question coming in. It's a suggestion from Vincent. Just Nina Ameri is a really good entertainment attorney as well. So we'll have to look her up and maybe talk with her too. And then Andrew, I'll share the blog URL in this chat here, but it's just SoCreate.it. and then /blogs/screenwriting. And I will put that in there. And Jeffrey's just asking if you get paid for the jobs that we post to our site. We usually are posting screenwriting internships, actually, so not typically screenwriting jobs. There are plenty of other websites where you can find, screenwriting jobs listed, but the internships that we post, they're a mix of paid and unpaid, but we feel like those are highly valuable because breaking into the industry is, one of the things that people struggle with the most, and finding those internships can sometimes be really difficult. So we keep an ongoing list that we update every couple of weeks with new opportunities that arise.
Yes, and if you guys like what we're doing at SoCreate, please share it with your friends, spread the word. The more that we all work together to get people aware of Storyteller, the more traffic we're going to bring, the more visibility to your work, and we can all grow and become more successful together. I really super appreciate your time for coming to this webinar and for spending the time with us to learn about SoCreate. Again, we're here to help. So just on this support live chat right here, if you want to report a bug, if you find one, or if you want to give us feedback, we certainly welcome it. we operate a lot different than a lot of other companies. We are always here to support you and help you. So thank you so much for your time. And please let us know in between now and other things that we do. If you have any questions, suggestions, if you need help, we are here for you and we want to help you succeed.
And hey, Justin, maybe we can just stay on. Everyone's welcome to
Sure.
go whenever, but I think Alan had a couple of questions as
Sure.
well, so we can stay on to answer questions.
Yeah, I'll stay as long as you guys want to ask questions.
Yeah, I
So-
got a quick. Oh, sorry. You
No, I was
guys are
just gonna
doing
say, go ahead.
excellent. You guys are doing excellent. Number one.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. There's also where you can put links like your YouTube links and your Facebook and Instagram onto that site as well. And they can go into your platforms and look at other stuff as well, advocates.
We don't have that today. Again, like we're just launching this. It's in its infancy. We will be adding features like that in the future. So we will continue to work on this and improve it. Thank you for that feedback because like based on what matters to people and what people care about is what we prioritize. So thanks for letting us know that you'd like to be able to link to your other social areas and that sort of thing. And we will definitely.
Yeah, I could do it on other sites to use the link for SoCreative on other sites, even though if you guys don't have it on yours, I probably put on other sites that they can go forward to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, but-
awesome. And there are probably right now, like if you really wanted to add a link to some of your social channels, there are probably ways you can work around that by adding that into like your experience or into your bio section on your creator profile. But we'll be adding much better ways to do that. So thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, like when I put in, for example, I have a site, Chris Script Revolution and Coverfly or Stage 32. I put the links on that from you guys' site on that of mine, get the profile all been polished, and they can go forward to see mine as well as many others. It probably wouldn't waste a lot of time, and then they can see how you all got your shit down. So
Great. Yeah, that's perfect. And then Ryan also commented that he would also absolutely love the ability to link to other sites like IMDb and YouTube. So
Yeah.
thank you all for that feedback. We'll definitely work on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Were there any other questions? I think we covered it all.
Okay. Well, we're here for you. If you think of a question later, feel free to ask it in the chat. Our chat, we're actively available Monday through Friday from 9 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you do a chat outside of those hours, there's a good chance that we'll get back to you within a short period of time. I personally constantly check the chat. Even when I'm outside of my working hours, there's a period of time when I do sleep. So during that period of time, something might not be available, but we will get back to you as soon as we are available. So we are very active on that. And so if you send us something outside of those hours, we don't get back to you right away. Don't worry, we will get back to you.
Thank you, everyone. I'll be sending out a link to just a recap of this webinar and also just some information about our webinar next week. So everyone have a nice rest of your evening.
Thank you.